Bonjour everyone, I am Anne-Lise Cailliez and welcome to Parlez-Vous CEO, where we ditch the corporate talk and get real about entrepreneurship. Each week, I chat with founders and CEOs who build businesses their way, through the failures, pivots, and breakthroughs. And they bring the fire. Plus, I'll drop some golden nuggets of wisdom from my own entrepreneurial journey. This is your space to grow, learn, and evolve with a true growth mindset. Remember, success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Now let's kick things off and get this party started. Hello, bonjour, hello. Welcome to another episode of Parlez-Vous CEO. My name is Anne-Lise Cailliez and I am your host. For those who are just joining the podcast, we're Anne-Lise marketing partners and we specialize in helping female-led businesses scale their revenue. If you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth in the DMs. So today we have a very exciting guest, which is really special to my heart because she's a friend and she's a gangster, she's a badass, and I'm here with Lisa Carmen Wang. Lisa, in your own words, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, thank you, Anne-Lise. I'm really excited to be here and to finally be on your incredible podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Carmen Wang. I'm the founder of the Bad Bitch Empire, a global movement building unapologetic worth and wealth for women. We're also a venture fund investing in high-growth, female-led businesses, creating exponential impact for the world. And also a podcast as well, the Bad Bitch Empire podcast. My background is I'm a 4-time USA national champion gymnast and USA Hall of Fame gymnast. And I am a serial entrepreneur with a exit. I'm an investor. I'm a keynote speaker. I am a business and branding coach, startup CEO advisor, and I am the author of the Bad Bitch Business Bible, the 10 Commandments to break free of good girl brainwashing, take charge of your body, boundaries, and bank account. And also I am in transition right now, embarking on my creative journey as a musical artist, a rapper, singer, and dancer. And my artist name is Baddie Lee. So look out for that music that is coming out very soon.
That's amazing, Lisa. What a great intro. I'm so excited to have you and I'm so looking forward to dive into your story and how you went from VC to rapper. So I have tons of questions for you and I'm sure our audience is going to be so excited to hear about what you've been doing and also about your deep story, your background, because what I find so fascinating is how you've been working in so different realms of life and how you went from one industry to the other. Thing that personally really affected me is I met you 10 years ago when you were started She Works. And at the time, it wasn't a lot of women who were doing exactly what you were doing and working in the female-led space. Could you share with us more about this project, what you built from the beginning and up to when you sold it?
Yes. She Works was a global collective of female entrepreneurs focused on closing the funding gap for women. Only 2% of venture capital funding goes to female entrepreneurs. That has barely changed at all since 10 years ago. And our goal was really to help women navigate the 95% male-dominated investment landscape and help more women get funded. And so, as mentioned, back then, there were really not many groups focused specifically on this, if any at all, focused on helping women really gain access to capital. And so I started She Works because of my own experiences fundraising and realizing just how many challenges women have to go through when trying to pitch investment to get investment from male investors. And I didn't really have any female entrepreneur friends. I didn't know who to talk to and ended up creating this community initially as a passion project, but it quickly turned into a business where we were holding a different She Works breakfast with a new investment partner every single week. It went to New York, to LA, to London, to Singapore, to Tel Aviv. We had She Works chapter directors in all of those cities. We were doing massive She Works summits connecting dozens of investment partners to female entrepreneurs. We helped women raise millions of dollars in funding through this. And we also captured a lot of data around the challenges that women were going through, what types of companies were getting funded. And back in that point, Crunchbase, which is one of the largest data sets and data centers for data on the venture capital and entrepreneurship market, they had never even thought to do any sort of research on women entrepreneurs and investors. And all of their data was based on men. So that was in the 2000s, right? That was like 2010, 2012. Between 2010 and 2015, they had never actually focused on gathering data on women. And so we were really the first to do that. And so we built that over the course of almost 5 years, and then ended up selling that business in 2019 to a $1 billion fintech company that was also run by all men at the end of the day, and saw the opportunity as they were trying to attract more female customers to their platform to really partner with us and bring in all the work that we had done around female entrepreneurs and investors to help them grow their company.
That's awesome. What an exciting journey. So you were in that space for about 10 years. And then how did you come across the concept of the Bad Bitch Empire?
So Bad Bitch Empire really started because, interestingly enough, I was doing a lot of writing and coaching after I sold SheWorks, and a lot of self-reflection as I was starting to coach women and understand the challenges they were going through. And one really interesting thing that I found throughout my time through SheWorks and even after working with women was that a lot of women would come to me for fundraising issues, right? How do I get this investor? How do I get more money into my business? How do I raise investment? And when I would work with them, they all thought they had all of these different problems, but a lot of times it never actually had to do with the problem they thought they had. It was always a self-worth problem. It was always a self-image problem. Like, their deck did not need to be more perfect. They already knew their numbers. They already knew their product. They had their hiring plan. It was just this lack of confidence because deep down, they just still undervalued themselves. And so I ended up writing this blog post about good girl brainwashing because I was reflecting on all of the good girl habits that had held me back and had caused me to have low self-worth, from perfectionism, people pleasing, staying silent, imposter syndrome, feeling like I had to be obedient, and feeling like I had to be extra humble and not talk about my accomplishments or my work. And when I put that all together, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've been brainwashed by society to feel less than, to believe that I'm worth less. And all women have been taught this. And when I put that up on Instagram, I did a carousel about it, and it went viral because so many women were commenting, oh my God, me too, me too, me too. And then I remember I had one friend who commented, when are you going to start Bad Bitch University? And then that's like when it's like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, good girl, bad bitch. This is the perfect like transformation, and like a really good literary like image to be like, yes, this is the before, this after. Like, the good girl's like this, the bad bitch is this unapologetic, confident, generous, like proud woman who gets shit done and knows what she wants. And that's kind of how the original concept really came to me. I had wanted to write a book since I was really little. I was a literature major. I spent all my time in libraries reading books. So it was always on the cards for me to write a book. And I came up with the idea of the Bad Bitch Business Bible, the 10 commandments to break free of good girl brainwashing. And I ended up writing that book proposal, and I got a 6-figure book deal from HarperCollins, one of the top publishers in the world. And I knew that it was time for me to write my book, share everything I had learned in the past 10 years as going through my career in male-dominated industries as a young minority woman, and all the mistakes I had made, everything that I wanted to share. And that was really the beginning of I'd say the Bible for the Bad Bitch Empire and this brand that I built. And that's what helped really catapult it. But in addition, the Bad Bitch Empire, that's the philosophy it was born on. But it really also was focused on investing in women. So helping women make more money by investing in other women. And When I launched the Bad Bitch Empire, it was around this idea of unapologetic worth and wealth, and this idea that when women come together, we can create a new economic system. We can learn how to invest, because basically that's what it's like for men. Like, men have created an entire economic system of men paying other men, servicing other men, investing in other men, like just investing back into one another. And that's because, when you look at it again, 5+% of all capital is controlled by men. So it's like, if that can be true, it can also be true that women can create our own economy, because we control 85% of consumer purchases, right? We're the ones spending money on all these products. And so imagine if women could channel that into investing and owning equity in companies. That's a bad bitch move. And so that was really this vision of like an empire of bad bitches all building and investing in each other and creating that sort of team sport where we all win together, and also breaking the status quo, no longer succumbing to these patriarchal standards of how a woman should be. Because in order for this to happen, like in order for us to create a new society, a new economy that does serve women, you have to be unapologetic. You have to be willing to, get hated on. You have to be willing to go against the grain. And it's very uncomfortable for women to speak up. And then the moment a woman speaks up and speaks her truth and is powerful, like, the patriarchy doesn't like that. So it's I wanted to also, in building this brand, attract the types of women who are not afraid to rebel, attract the types of women who are not afraid to stand up and actually say their truth and stand on their truth, because that's the kind of women that we need in order to lead. That's kind of the genesis story of the Bible, the empire, and so much has happened since then.
This is awesome. I love this story. I'm always in awe of everything that you're building. And Lisa, so you really took risks when you pivoted and started a brand that is so bold as the Bad Beach Empire. And for instance, I started my marketing agency positioning myself as targeting female led businesses. And I received a lot of backlash online, especially from men saying, "What are you doing? Are you only going to be working with women? Why are you shutting down like 50% of your market? Does it mean you won't be working with men?" So I got a lot of like, "Why are you doing this? And are you a man haters?" What kind of feedback did you get? Did you get affected by it? And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I definitely got feedback from people. And it was even when I was posting the cover of my Bad Bitch Business Bible. I was talking about how I was releasing it, and I had just done this photo shoot, and the cover of my book. I was trying to find the cover my book, but can I go get it? Let me just go grab
Absolutely.
the book. So yeah, so when I put out my book cover for the Bad Bitch Business Bible, as you can see, it's like I have this black dress, black leather boots, knee-high boots, like black leather gloves. And it's like a really defiant look in my face. And when I put this on LinkedIn, I just got a very, very different types of comments. Like, there were the women who were like, "Oh my God, this is awesome. I love it." And then I also got comments like, "That's not how a professional woman dresses. Why do you have to use an inappropriate word like bitch? Why do you have to blah, 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 blah? Like, this is so, again, so inappropriate, not professional." Like, whatever. In the beginning, I was definitely affected by these sorts of comments, and it affected it made me doubt myself for a bit, where it's like, maybe they're right. Maybe my brand is too much. Maybe it is too bold. Maybe it is too unprofessional. But then I had to step back and be like, wait, but who is this for? Like, this is for the women who want to unleash their inner bad bitch. Like, this is literally a mirror of how society is working. That the moment a woman decides to stand up and be proud of herself and is not, what is that word? The moment a woman is not censoring herself to be appropriate for men, like, it makes them uncomfortable. And what I realized is that what my brand, the Bad Bitch Empire, and what this book, the Bad Bitch Business Bible, the cover of this book, like, what is the expression on this face of my face is defiance. And it's also like, try me. Like, try me, bitch. Like, does it look like I care about your opinion? like little fly, little man. And when a woman stops caring, that's actually the moment that it silences the haters. Because I think the people who give negative comments, like they want to provoke you. They want you to be triggered. They want you to feel self-doubt. And they're projecting their own shame, their own insecurity on you. And that's exactly their hope, is that you pay attention to it, whether consciously or unconsciously. They're trying to get attention, right? And so if you look at it and you're like, whatever, on to the next, they're like, wait, you don't care that I just gave you negative feedback? You don't care that I hate it? You're like, no, I actually don't give an F at all. And when I realized, like, okay, by me responding to the hate, by me feeling insecure by someone not liking my brand, that is literally like me succumbing back to my good girl habits of people pleasing. Because now I'm trying to please everybody with my brand. And the whole point of this brand was to overcome that good girl brainwashing. And this is the process that I had to go through. And, you know, it took me a while, because also during that time I attracted a very jealous and toxic, narcissistic ex who was exactly that kind of man, who, you know, was threatened by my power, was threatened by my own self-confidence and assurance, my light, and everything else. All the, let's call it the haters on the internet, wherever, who would just make these comments, like, even if not directly, but maybe you should tone it down. Have you ever thought that maybe it's not that appropriate? And it's these like very small condescending comments, and you're like, maybe they're right. And the only way I could get back to me, which was a long process, was like, okay, I need to remember why I did this in the first place. You know, like, what is my truth? And what I've seen now, I see now very clearly that all of these were tests from the universe to test. They're like, okay, so you think you're strong? Okay, so you think you're powerful and confident? Let me sprinkle in a narcissistic and abusive man into your life. Let me sprinkle in all these haters. Let me sprinkle in all this, and let's see if you keep going. And I think that that's what every pioneer has had to do, every innovator has had to do, like powerful woman who's had to try to go against the status quo of her time. I guarantee, like, all of them were called crazy. All of them were called stupid. All of them were called too much. All of them were like, you're a rebel. Some of them were burned at the stake, you know? And it's just every person who wants to create change, and especially every woman who wants to create change, is going to face hate. And I saw myself as a pioneer, and I'm like, okay, someone's got to stand out front. You know, if there's an army, like, someone's got to be on the front lines of battle. And so are you willing to be that person? Are you strong enough to lead? Because all the bullets are going to come at you first. And so I realized, like, this was preparing me for war, you know, for battle. And I'm like, okay, all of these comments, bullet, 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 bullet. Like, am I going to let it come through me, or am I going to develop armor? Am I going to develop strength? And I realized now, after going through that for, you know, a couple of years of since I've launched the Bad Bitch Empire, like, since I've had to deal with this scrutiny and this feedback, is like, I have now developed that armor of self-love in a way that I thought I had it before. And then it was like, it's rooted in a true foundation now, where it's like every single time it happens, it's like my foundation of self-love grows stronger, because you have to practice that muscle. Like, you're actually facing it directly. So you have no, you know, either like grow or you fall back. And I think that's been a gift. So now I see all of this like hatred, or again, it's not hatred. It was just like haters, you know, who couldn't deal with my light. They have been a gift from the universe, and a mirror, right? It was a mirror to myself of areas that I didn't fully love myself. And interestingly, now that I've gotten, like, I love my brand, I love like what I've created and what I stand for, and I'm getting every day still more confident, more assured of my truth and my voice, my mission, more grounded in it. I don't hear the hate anymore. I'm like, I don't get any negative comments. Like, maybe they're whispering in their bedrooms about it, but I don't hear about it. Like, I feel like I'm just surrounded by positivity and like people who love it. So I'm like, wow, you really do attract what you believe inside. So whatever you're saying to yourself inside, it's like, it shows up. And then, so I really just think about it as, at the end of the day, if you're practicing through it, life is a mirror. relationships are a mirror. Even the comments you get sometimes I think are mirrors, where it's like, whether it's a mirror of our time, like they're mirrors in that you will see what you pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're bothered by the negative comments and you're triggered by it, then look inside, like, because it's sparking some sort of truth in you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone says to me, "You're super fat and you're stupid," I'm in great shape and I'm really smart. I know that. I have zero insecurity about that. So if someone's like, "You're stupid, you're super fat," I'm like, okay, whatever, you're crazy. Like, goodbye. No, but if someone said, like, and they went straight to my, like, some insecurity I have, like right now, let's say I'm a budding singer and rapper and musical artist, and if I had someone in my ear all day being like, "You're not good enough singer, you're not a good enough rapper, maybe you should just give up, maybe you should just," in a time when I'm still very vulnerable, that might affect me because I'm not grounded in my truth yet. And so that's a hater, but that hater bothers me because it's speaking to a part of me that believes that it might be true. So I think all of that is like, if you get haters, it's like, and you're bothered by it, ask yourself, like, what part of me do I need to love a little bit more? And then once you like really love all of it, then it's your armor, right? Nobody can touch you.
And when you started your brand in the beginning, did you feel that you were able to be really yourself and authentic right off the bat? Or is this something that you feel got better with time?
When I launched the Bad Bitch Empire, I felt like it truly came from a place of like unapologetic confidence. I was rising. I was like, let's freaking go. And it felt like the most authentic version of me, but that like inner bad bitch that I was just like, that bitch. But the thing is, I don't think it was grounded enough in the true confidence. It was like a version of myself that I thought was like the most powerful, the most confident, but it was easily knocked down by like a bad ex, a bad guy who entered my life. And granted, I needed an abusive one to really knock me down. It wasn't just going to be some average guy who could do it. But yeah, like I really had to build myself back up after that. And I feel like now every day more and more, it's like my authentic self is coming out and like I'm becoming more clear on it. And especially since I've started becoming embracing being an artist, I haven't felt like as authentic to who I am probably my whole life until this period in my life right now, because like I think I had a fear of calling myself an artist. I was like, what do artists do? They're just broke, right? Like that's not a real business. How do you monetize? And this goes to like a lot of trauma that I think a lot of people have. If you don't come from money, if you don't come from wealth, if you come from an immigrant background, like you don't really have the luxury of thinking about creativity, outside of monetization. So you're wired to be like survival mode. And so I feel that I'm now entering into this era where I'm not in survival mode, right? I've been hustling my whole life and being in a place where it's like, you know what? My truth comes out as an artist, my true creativity, expression. Because when you're rapping about being a bad bitch, no one's like, that's inappropriate. They're like, let's go. And I can say all the things that I can't say in, let's say, the business world or a corporate world. And you can really write a diss track, and like say everything you want in the song. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Like it's better when there's more emotion. And so always been told I'm very sensitive. My parents said that to me as a bad thing, like, oh, stop crying. You're too sensitive. You're so sensitive. And so like, I feel like I've kind of numbed my sensitivity for a while. And then I've realized finally now I'm like, oh, that's what makes a good artist, who's very sensitive to the world, who's very in touch with their emotions, and all the things that the business world discourages. And the masculine, like, let's say the ultra masculine rigid world will discourage. Yeah. And so being able to embrace that of, it's not that I'm too sensitive. It's actually that I'm like very open and in touch with the universe. And that's what's going to show in my art. So yeah, I'm really excited about this era. And I feel like that's the beauty of the journey and getting older and wiser as a woman, is that you have all these life lessons and confidence and foundation and grounding. And then at a certain point, you're like, you know what? Screw what society thinks. Like, I want to do it my way.
I love that. And Lisa, so how has it been transitioning from being a VC investor to becoming a rapper? What are some skills you've had to develop or redevelop? And what are some transferable skills?
Yeah, so I used to, really interestingly, I've always said my whole life, I suck at singing. I suck. I didn't do karaoke. Like I was just like, yeah, that's not my thing. I don't sing. So I'd sing and rap along to songs quiet, like in my shower, in my car when nobody's there. And I've just always said I have a bad voice. It's just a thing that I believed about myself. And the fact that I'm entering into a field right now where literally it's all about my voice. Like my voice is centered. It's just this incredible transformation and like courage to bet on that, to say to myself, you know what? I'm going to choose to not carry this limiting belief anymore. Like this thing that I've carried my whole life. I'm going to choose to be like, I don't believe that. I've been lying to myself my whole life, perhaps to protect myself. And I think that a lot of women have blocked throat chakras. I think it's something that's called the witch wound. When you think about how witches were hanged, or witches, which were just very powerful, intuitive, and smart women, and like vocal women, because women, like, we've been silenced every time we speak our truth. We've been murdered, burned at the stake, hung. Like, you cannot speak as a woman. If you speak truth, like your truth, it's like head off. And so I think this witch wound, which is something that's been carried through generations of women, it's like, it's still to this day, this fear of like, if I speak up against the system, like it feels like I'm going to be killed. Like that's how deep the fear is rooted. And so to me, there's something really powerful and like symbolic about the fact that I finally decided, like, you know what, I am going to choose my truth, and I'm going to choose my voice. And my voice is so powerful, and that in itself, can change a whole generation. It can change culture. Like, think of the Martin Luther King. He just said, I have a dream, or he had a vision, and it was that voice that carries through. And I think there's nothing like music that can really like penetrate culture, and it just like in people's heads, and can change the way it changes energy, it changes frequency. And so I think that going into this field now has felt like a rebirth, and things that I've had to unlearn are like, when I first started in the studio rapping, I did feel like this kind of repression of, I can't fully, you can say the words, but we've been taught, again, in corporate, in business, in male dominated boardrooms and business rooms, like, be polite, be like respectful. And it's just like, don't be too this, don't be too that, don't be too loud, don't be too expressive, don't be too emotional. And so I realized it was actually in the beginning like really uncomfortable to be like emotional and like angry and just like express heartbreak on a song, express like all these things. And so the songs would kind of come out a little flat. Like, I can already hear my progress from the first song I recorded to the songs recorded now, where I'm like, I do not hold back at all. And I had to unlearn, and my producers, they were like, mean it. Like, when you say the words, like, mean it more. And again, like, this discomfort with like really meaning it passionately, I think comes from the training of like, being a good girl, being a good student, being a good colleague, being a good employee, even being a good entrepreneur, being a good investor in this Silicon Valley, VC culture of men. And like, even thinking about like, what does an artist wear? Like, all those times where like, dress this way, don't dress too much this way when you're in professional settings. Like, it was like letting go of the professionalism in areas where it's repressive. And it's been me discovering like, oh my God, all of these things I thought were wrong about me, they weren't wrong about me. It's just because a lot of people have a stick up their ass, and especially a lot of men who don't want women to be, distracting, quote unquote. Don't be too sexy. Don't be too bold. Don't be too emotional. Don't be too assertive. Don't be too much. And you're like, actually, I am going to be too much. And especially in rap, where it's all about like, let me tell you how it really is, bitch. It's like, they're like, it's liberating. And I feel like when you're liberated, that's when your authentic and confident self comes out.
That's such an amazing story. So you've really felt that you can be completely yourself entering that world of becoming an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you just being, I don't know if crazy is the word. It's not the word. It's just being expressive and not trying to subconsciously people please or like with your emotions and trying to box yourself in and say, as this kind of woman, let's say as a professional woman, I am not allowed to XYZ. So you just stop censoring yourself. And part of this process has been me looking internally and just being like, wow, there's so many areas I block myself just mentally through my own self-talk, saying that, oh, I'm not good enough yet. Oh, I'm not perfect enough yet. Oh, there's so many people who've done this more years than me. There's so many people who are younger than me who have started earlier. There could be a million reasons why I don't do this. And especially because I'm doing this as a woman in my mid 30s. You know, like most of these female musicians, like I mean, even Taylor Swift she started singing when, she was like 5 years old. Like she had a guitar. I don't know. Like most musicians that you hear about, you're like, oh, these girls have been starting since the moment they could speak or walk, they were doing music. And I'm like in my mid 30s and like, maybe I start now. And so I had so many doubts initially. I'm like, maybe I'm too old. Maybe it's too late. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe. And then I had to really just be like, you know what? I'm good. In fact, the fact that I'm doing this in my mid 30s with the confidence, with knowing who I am, that and having a brand, having a mission, having a message, like being a woman who knows the world, who's had so many experiences and overcome them, that's going to make me an even better musical artist. Because if I'm a girl who's 18 years old walking in, I don't know who I am. I haven't, like most artists struggle. Like you can have so much talent, but if you don't know who you are, you know, like they struggle. So I decided to choose, I've spent a lot of my life focusing on what I'm not good enough at yet, where I lack. And entering this, I said, this is a mental game. And for me to make this happen, I'm going to have to actively choose all the good things about myself and choose to focus on my strengths. And that's the practice, that's the day-to-day like work. And then from that state of mind, going into the studio and creating my songs and not allowing, again, those negative self-talk while I'm in the middle of the song to be like, oh, it's not perfect, not good enough. Like, of course it's not perfect. And that's not the point. You know, it's to create songs that resonate with people and art that really can speak to, empower, and inspire the listener.
So, Lisa, how do you do that? What you just described, because you clearly go from, I have these doubts, maybe I'm starting too late. So clearly you are going through these thoughts and the self-limiting beliefs and the put downs. How do you pivot? What is your strategy or what is your methodology to pivot and say, I decided I will focus on my strength. I will not talk bad about myself. Like, how do you do that pragmatically?
Well, definitely pick a copy of the Bad Bitch Business Bible. In chapter 1, commandment 1, I talk about an exercise that I did that I think is a really tangible exercise that everybody can start off with, which was the self-love letter, and writing that love letter to yourself, apologizing for all the ways you've treated yourself badly, recognizing ways in which you have not been a good friend to yourself. Maybe you've been your own worst enemy, your own biggest hater, and just embracing that has happened, and then promising to yourself that you're going to be your own best friend, that you're going to be your best lover, that you are going to be your biggest hype woman. And so you need to make that commitment to yourself first and foremost. And like be a good friend to yourself. I think a lot of us are not that to ourselves, especially as women. We're very harsh on ourselves, our performance, our bodies, everything, because that's how society has trained us to be focused on all of our flaws. But you need that awareness. So a lot of things that I've been talking about, it's like I had to become aware of this voice, this pattern and habit in my head. And once I was aware of it, it was like I had to then have the conscious desire to change it. A lot of people don't like looking at themselves and noticing all the ways in which they are sabotaging themselves because they're comfortable with the norm. And the example is really like, choosing a romantic partner and the trauma, right? Like if you're used to chaos and you're used to a certain sort of toxic behavior and you continue that with the next man, the next man, the next man, the next man, it's like at some point it's like maybe it's not a them problem, maybe it's a you problem, and the you problem is you keep tolerating it, you keep accepting it, you keep taking it back, you keep just wanting it and letting it into your life. And the hard work is to examine and say, how am I contributing to these external circumstances that are coming into my life? It's much easier to complain, be like, these people suck, these men suck, like the city I'm in sucks, like the economy sucks. It's like, okay, that may all be true, but like I say in this book, the first thing a bad bitch has to do is take radical self-responsibility. Like, yeah, the economy might suck, yeah, like a lot of men might suck, but what are you going to do about it? How are you going to be the author of your own story and decide to be the main character, the writer, and create your own reality? So what I feel like I've been very good at doing is creating my reality based off of my vision. Because, I mean, just as an example, like there was nothing in my life that said, Lisa, go be a rapper, go be a musical artist as a, mid-30s woman. It's like, that makes no sense at all. Who does that? But it was like, I listening to my own heart was like, okay, I have this craving. Why do I feel this craving to be on stage? Why do I feel this craving to create music? Why do I have this craving to just like do all these creative things and express myself? And why do I feel not aligned when doing, these parts of my current work? And how long am I going to feel like this before I just like actually recognize what I want? And so the moment I had that vision, I remember the first time I had this vision of like, I just said like, I'm meant to be a star. I am meant to be a superstar, like a rapper, a singer on stage. Like I went to a Beyonce concert. I'm like, I'm supposed to be there. And I was like, I love it. And I was like, but the little person in my brain says like, but how? You can't do this. You're not Beyonce. Like all the reasons why it's not possible. You're too old. You're too blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, it's just like that little devil. And I just said, well, it was even scary. Like the fact that I even just said like the claiming, like I want to be a star. I want to be the best Asian female rapper there ever lived. Like no one gives you permission to do that. But I'm like, you know what? That's my vision. Okay, now I'm grounding that vision. I see myself in a stadium with hundreds of thousands, like millions of people there. I get to sing my bad bitch songs. I get to like have this whole movement and like, that's my vision. And okay, now go write that story, like go do it. And that's the scary part. Well, the scary part is even dreaming that big. And then the next scary part is to say, that's a dream, but you don't get to that dream without like picking up the pen and writing your story, like creating that story, making the universe like bend to your vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I feel like I'm at now. It's like I'm putting in the work, like I'm showing up every day. I'm writing the songs. I'm going to the studio. I moved to LA, to be hours away from my husband, like across the country, literally. And because I'm like, this is the only person who's going to make this dream a reality is me. Like I have to drive the vision. I have to pave the way. And I have to believe in myself first so hard that it hurts, because that's the only way it's going to work. So yeah, the risk is believing in yourself and investing in yourself and being like, this is going to happen. Even when it just sounds completely crazy to other people.
Wow, that's amazing, Lisa. I love that for you. And if there's somebody who can slay and become a rapper, superstar rapper, is definitely you. I'm 100% behind you. Lisa, if you had to meet your 15-year-old self today, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that focus on yourself and your truth and focus on what you want, and that everything's going to turn out great. All those people that you focused on, like their opinions, trying to be cool, trying to like get people to like you, trying to fit in and change yourself. Like every time you felt like you were not enough or different or weird, it's like, you don't have to feel that, like it's your own opinion of yourself is the most important one.
I love that. Is there a question that you wish that I had asked you today?
Nothing comes to mind.
And Lisa, Can you please share with our listeners, where can people find you? Where can we connect with you and learn more about what you do?
The best way is on Instagram at Lisa Carmen Wang, and my new artist Instagram at XO and Baddie is spelled Baddi.
That's awesome. So when is your new music coming out?
I have just finished recording almost, I think, 17 songs in the last 3 months.
Wow.
So that's like a record. It was like
17.
Yeah. So
when you do things, you do it well, you.
Yeah. When I go in, I go all in. And now I'm in the process of like going through all those songs, like figuring out which ones I want to release, which ones to release first. It will definitely be this year. So
that's awesome.
Look out for that. But follow at XO Baddi on Instagram and you'll have all the.
That's super exciting. Lisa, it was such a pleasure to have you on Parlez-Vous CEO today and diving into your story and sharing it with our audience. What a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for being here again today and every week and sharing your story. And that wraps up today's episode. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez and I can't wait to join you again next week. Thanks for listening to Parlez-Vous CEO today. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps us keep going. And connect with us on Instagram at Parlez-Vous CEO. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I know some days are harder than others. On those tough days, think back to why you started. What you're doing today matters, even when you can't see the results yet. Ideas are great, but it's what you do with them that counts. Find everything we talked about today at parlezvousceo.com. See you next week, and you've got this.